SpaceX, which is the parent company of Starlink, which is founded by Elon Musk, they had a fantastic call with Professor Yunus last week. We spoke with Elon Musk. I think everyone saw that. In that call, Professor Yunus made a very focused effort on highlighting the need for Starlink in Bangladesh, the fact that he will do everything to support the licensing of Starlink, and had actually formed a team which was really a great sign that he wanted to move quickly. And the estimate is that they're looking to have it within 90 days in Bangladesh, which is extraordinarily fast. Reality is it may be a little bit longer, but to be honest, it may be the fastest country in the world from sort of start to finish, which is very impressive. And it kind of shows the way the government's thinking. It's important to see that because it's very pro-business, looking to remove the sort of bureaucracy and to bring business to Bangladesh. So it was a very good sign and a great signal of how this interim government is responding to business. That's a technical question. So we have an amazing team at Starlink, at SpaceX, that are actually coming to Bangladesh and will be working that out. Ultimately, it is a major economy, major country. So I think that from a practical point of view, they're going to work with the government to come up with the best model. So that time will tell for that. I mean, Starlink is a great example, especially, it is it's a global business, but of course it's very much an American entity. I really believe that Bangladesh is a country that is not on the radar to the Americans, to the Europeans. Very much in Asia, people know about Bangladesh. But I think that this kind of, first of all, the new government coming in is very significant. He's a well-known international figure, well-known economist, very, very famous for all the work he's done around the world, including in the U.S. And of course, we know Graham in the U.S. is a big entity. My point is that I think that Starlink is the start of, I think, a lot of U.S. and a very pro-business environment, which I don't think was here before. I think before there was a lot of issues that prevented U.S. businesses from wanting to be here. I know from my point of view, I have another multi-billion-dollar U.S. company coming here tomorrow to see me in Bangladesh. And, I have to tell you, Professor Yunus will see all of them. I mean, that's a separate side. That there is ongoing talks. I think the first part is that Starlink needs to work directly with the government to get the spectrum and to get the licensing. That's the first element. Once they have that, then they'll work with a multitude of local operators, and there's a ecosystem that's created from that. Again, once you're licensed in the country, you'll see many, it's a very open model, so you'll see many businesses then able to cooperate with Starlink and SpaceX. I think, unfortunately, politics gets in the way of business in so many regards. Elections can also be very difficult because they take a lot of the energy away. And I think right now what Bangladesh should do is focus on the fantastic leadership you have, and embrace the fact that the global community is able to engage with Muhammad Yunus. If you look at this incredible transition of power, it highlights what really Bangladesh is about. The acceptance of Muhammad Yunus coming in, the fact that the youth picked someone of his age. It shows that they weren't looking to run the government themselves. There was an awareness that they didn't have the experience. So who better than bringing in Muhammad Yunus? I think it was a brilliant decision, and one that shows a maturity from the youth. They wanted change, but they knew that they didn't have the expertise. So I think it highlights the fact that, you know, if I was looking at it from my points of view, I think that the continuation of Muhammad Yunus is only a good thing for this country. You know, rooting out corruption is not something that happens overnight. It happens over, it can take a long time, but I feel like one of the approaches that I want to talk about is Bangladesh 2.0. Bangladesh 2.0 is really what Muhammad Yunus is talking about, the new Bangladesh. And a lot of that includes the digitalization of the economy, which things like Starlink really help with. So if you're, you know, I was speaking with Muhammad Yunus last night at Iftar, and he was talking about the fact that if the government goes online and is digitalized, it takes away roots out corruption. So a young person, a young woman or man from a village will have a computer, an internet connection, and the ability to register births, register vehicles, to apply for grants, to do all kinds of things. So that person becomes almost an entire government office. So he's gotten it, and he also told me that they're learning how to address corruption from the Europeans, because the EU had to address corruption to become a balanced system, and so he's learning from the best of how to deal with this. And in my view, his policies for Bangladesh 2.0 involve technology, rooting out corruption, embracing the international community, and being a lot more forward-thinking in how Bangladesh can be a global player in terms of exports. You know, he was telling me that through some of his social projects, he's got, you're building handsets that are Bangladeshi made, produced, and exported. I mean, he's got millions, as you know, millions of ideas. So I think his vision, you know, he's not a young man, but his mind is young. He seems to have this constant, when you meet with him, he doesn't just speak about one thing, he speaks about many topics. Elon Musk's vision for Starlink was to connect the entire world. And but that doesn't necessarily mean that every person has to have a Starlink terminal. The terminals are meant to provide internet access to the remotest areas. But in essence, I've seen this because I've been working across Africa and other developing parts of the world where the Starlink model is to provide terminals which are generally used in a commercial setting. Schools, hospitals, businesses, and they benefit. So I've seen where you have community hubs. I can imagine in you know, if we look at, for example, Cox's Bazar, you've got 1 million refugees. Do they deserve to have internet? Do people across Bangladesh deserve it? Yes, and the way of doing that is to provide community-based internet, which we've seen with water, we've seen with other facilities. So it's the same thing. So it's important to remember that in a case of Bangladesh, it's not the average working citizen that will go and buy a Starlink terminal, but they will benefit from a community-based approach, which would say, for example, each community, each hospital, hotels, schools. So that's the approach. That, you know, really, that's up to that's up to Starlink, and I think that it will follow the same model as we have looked globally at looking at the model of each country is its own puzzle. That's part of it. The pricing is important. If the pricing's too high, then it also, you know, it's important that the government of Bangladesh doesn't have expensive fees associated with the operation, because that adds only on to the cost of the consumer. So I think that's a balance that has to happen. Again, you know, these are all good questions, but they're really related to, I think, there's a team of really great people, honestly, that look at this and they really assess. So my role is very specific. My role is to, at the highest level, to really support Elon Musk speaking with the leadership, high level, agreeing conceptually, high level agreeing on the significance of Starlink to that community, to that country, and then within that, then the various teams come in and start working. So I'm really quite removed from the daily part of it. Yeah, and not being a tech person. I mean, I think look, it's a big market. It's a market that needs to have a very specific pricing to it. I think the pricing will not be a big concern. I think so. Yeah, I think there is a renewed interest. I'm seeing it from my point of view. There's definitely a post the call with Elon. I think it did attract a lot of people, a lot of companies. I think you'll start to see more and more of that. But it's also on the side of Bangladesh. The reality is Bangladesh is a big secret. It doesn't sell itself. It doesn't know how to sell itself. So you need to I think, take this as a sign that Bangladesh has got to be a lot more aggressive in selling why doing business in this country is important. When I talk about the population of Bangladesh, people are shocked. When I talk about the size of Bangladesh, people are shocked. When I talk about some of the economic factors, the exports of textiles, the exports of tech hardware, the exports of fruits and vegetables, all these things, people are really surprised. And I think that's something that needs to be corrected. It's incumbent upon Bangladesh to start being much more assertive in explaining its value proposition to the world, because the world's big, a lot of competition, and you need to be much more, especially in this region. The first part is political will. Once you have that, the rest happens quite easily. So that's the big thing. The government's not putting up barriers. The government's putting up is very much supportive, which means it's going to be fast. So, I mean, again, 90 days is very ambitious, but if we look at it, it'll be by the summer, which is a wonderful thing. I mean, again, these are questions that are. I get it. You want to bring up these questions, but I think that the answer is just you have to stick to the facts with this. It's like all things, cell phones, smoke detectors. Everything can be hacked. All these kinds of things. I think we have to look at it reasonable, but there is no big nefarious thing that's happening, and we've seen that globally. Remember, Starlink is in 114 markets around the world, operating properly. So there will always be these rumors. I think that, but they're just that. If you can show any qualified data that says yes, but no, of course not. So first on Elon Musk coming to Bangladesh, I think that it would be fantastic. I think Professor Yunus on the call was very excited about the possibility of Elon coming, and I think that look, I mean, Elon is someone that I think would be very excited to see what's happening here in Bangladesh, and especially if Starlink is supported and put out here. Again, he's very busy. So it's really up to Professor Yunus and Elon to work out the schedules. But of course, I think it would be fantastic. I think the idea of Elon Musk and Yunus Mohammed together is exciting for the world, and I think it would be an amazing moment for Bangladesh. So fingers crossed, we'll see.